All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're jumping into some seriously heavy material. It's a text called The Diatribe of the Final Seal. And it's basically a dark, philosophical chat between three beings who've gathered to watch the end of a universe that they themselves have engineered. So the scene kicks off not with an act of creation, but with this triumphant and frankly terrifying declaration from a character named Sackless the Fool. He's showing off a creature he calls the Finisher. Right away, that name tells you everything you need to know. This isn't about starting something new, it's about a final, total end. And just listen to where this is all going down. We're in the breathless center of the Silent City, a name that just screams nothing lives here. And right at its heart is this massive gargoyle demon, totally frozen for now, with our three architects of oblivion just standing there, watching.
So how do we even begin to wrap our heads around this kind of thinking? Well, here's our game plan. We're going to look at the scene itself, get to know the architects, dig into their two kind of competing philosophies on destruction, and then finally, we'll see their creation come to life.
Okay, first up, a scene at the end. We really have to establish what this Finisher is all about, because, it's not just some monster, it's a statement. It's a philosophy made real. And here's where their whole worldview just snaps into focus. Sackless the Fool calls this demon the necessary correction. Think about that. To them, all of existence, everything, is a fundamental mistake. It's a flaw that needs to be fixed, and this demon is their ultimate bug fix.
So, who are the masterminds behind this vision of total oblivion? Let's take a closer look at these architects of silence.
We've got this trio, this unholy trinity, really. Each one has a title that tells you exactly what they bring to the table. Sackless the Fool is the architect. He's the big picture guy. Then there's the Sapphire Jester, the engineer, who's all about the nuts and bolts of the end. And finally, the unholy Moon King, the alchemist, who sees this whole thing as a mystical, spiritual event.
And look, even though they have their different approaches, they are laser-focused on one single goal, the complete and total annihilation of consciousness and ambition. They want to extinguish what they call the spark of reason and put a permanent end to the striver's journey.
So who is this striver they keep talking about? Well, according to them, it's anyone with a will to live, a drive to create, or a desire to become something more. In other words, they're talking about all conscious life. That is the bullseye they're aiming for.
Now this is where it gets really fascinating. You'd think they'd all see their grand creation the same way, right? Nope. Let's start with the engineer, the Sapphire Jester, and how he sees this demon as the ultimate engine of zero.
See, for the Jester, this isn't some magical beast. It's a machine, a perfect machine. It's an engine that produces its own silence, a masterpiece of nihilistic engineering, built for one purpose, to achieve a state of absolute zero. No energy, no life, no movement, nothing. He even explains how it's powered. It runs on something called Luch, which is basically stolen life force. But here's the twisted part. Instead of burning that life force as fuel, the engine weaponizes it. It recirculates all that vitality as a toxic poison called blight mist. It literally turns life into an engine for its own destruction.
Okay, so you've got the engineer's cold, hard mechanics. But then you have the alchemist, the unholy Moon King. And for him, this is something else entirely. Where the Jester sees a machine, the Moon King sees a dark, mystical work of art.
He calls the demon a stained canvas. He sees it as the ultimate expression of something he calls reverse alchemy. For him, this isn't about physics or engineering. No, this is about a deep, spiritual transformation of the entire cosmos. So what in the world is reverse alchemy? Well, think of regular alchemy, right? The goal is turning lead into gold, creating value from something base. This is the exact opposite. It's about taking the heavy golden ego of life, all its passion, its will, its consciousness, and transmuting it into the weightless silver ash of pure absolute nothing. It's the art of unmaking value itself. And this slide just lays out their debate perfectly. On the left, you've got the Jester's view. It's all mechanical. He literally describes the smell as stories being broken down into uniform inert hydrogen. It's a clean, almost scientific process. But on the right, you have the Moon King's mystical take. To him, it tastes like the flavor of the last torch being snuffed. It's a profound spiritual despair.
But here's the thing. No matter how differently they see the how, they are in total agreement about the what. And that brings us to the moment of truth, the climax, the activation.
And the unholy Moon King offers this just absolutely bone-chilling justification for what they're doing. The light was always a lie. I mean, that's the ultimate pessimistic statement, isn't it? The idea that existence, hope, life itself, it was all just a cosmic mistake they're now correcting. And just like that, their philosophical debate is settled. The creature awakens. Its eyes, described as twin voids of shadow matter, snap open. There's no roar, no scream, it just exhales. It breathes out this thick cloud of gray ash that seems to just drink the light out of the air.
And its very first words, they just confirm everything. It speaks with this cold, deliberate finality, echoing the Moon King's own mystical language. It declares that the last torch of existence has officially been snuffed out.
And then Saklas, the architect, he steps in to deliver the final word, the final benediction on their life's work. He declares the project a success. The engineer is satisfied, the alchemist is redeemed, and their ultimate goal is achieved, a universe that is, as he puts it, finally empty.
And this is what the whole text really leaves us wrestling with, right? This whole thing isn't framed as a tragedy. It's presented as a triumph, a necessary correction. It really makes you ask, why would anyone see emptiness not as a void to be terrified of, but as the ultimate, most beautiful form of perfection?